controls assessment, really setting the groundwork for the year-end audit. So after the close of the fiscal year, we'll come back in November, and then pretty much the full month of November, excluding, of course, Thanksgiving, right? And then into the first or second week of December, we'll have a team typically of 3 full-time audit associates, including senior associate and supervisor. And then we also have a senior manager on the audit. Her name is Brittany Drew. She might come to the meeting next week, we'll see. But she'll be on site probably 30% of her time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have about 4 full weeks of full-time people for final field work, plus a senior manager, plus my time, which to be honest, I don't always track it exactly.
Yeah.
We don't bill you for any of our hourly overages or anything like that, so we get to a point of being kind of lax in our time reporting because we do what it takes to get it done.
Right.
So does that answer your question?
Yes, that does. And the external audit process is so important to get this independent look at what is happening here, especially in our controls and the, accuracy and reliability of our financial statements. So I thank you and your team for your diligence and thoroughness and the hundreds or thousands of hours you spent working on this for us. And Ms. Garza and your team, thank you so much for taking this seriously. I know it's a lot to juggle, right? The audit demands plus your normal workload. So thank you so much for taking this seriously and providing the external auditors with everything they needed to do their job. Thanks. See you next week.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So shall we backtrack to item 2, nominate and select the audit committee chair for 2024?
Perfect. I would,
sorry.
To accept the report?
Okay. All right. So,
I
have a motion?
Yes, I make the motion that we accept this audit report and recommend it to the board for approval.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Do I vote? I can't remember. Okay. All those opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay, now back to item number 2, nominate and select the audit committee chair for 2024.
Oh, thank you. Chairman Chase, I would like to go ahead and renominate you for the chairman position. You've done such a wonderful job and have led and done a wonderful job in leadership. So if you will accept and I can get a second, I'd like to renominate you.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Everybody's
Well, thank you for that nomination. I would be happy to continue to do it. So that was a motion and a second. So all those in favor?
Yeah, you vote for yourself.
All those
I would
opposed?
hope you would.
All right, motion passes. That feels very awkward to vote for yourself, I have to say. So, all right. Okay, moving on to item 4. Consider and approve minutes from the September 13th, 2023 Audit and Investments Committee meeting. I didn't receive any feedback to change
Yeah.
anything, so.
I wasn't at that one, so I'll abstain.
Okay.
Since we didn't vote on anything on that one.
Yeah, we didn't.
I'm sorry, it was just informational.
Yeah.
So I motion to approve.
Okay, motion, second. Okay.
So even though you weren't present, you
Yeah,
can
that's
still
true.
approve the
Yeah,
minutes.
Yeah.
As long as we
That's
can't, we won't be
very
able to
good.
approve the
Yeah.
minutes.
I agree.
Yeah.
You're correct. So yeah, I second those motions. I did review them.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wasn't here, but yes, I
And we took no action because we didn't have a quorum.
We had no quorum, so yeah, it was more informational,
Okay.
or all informational. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, item 5, receive status update of 2023-2024 internal audit plan.
the exciting part of the program.
Yes, I love it.
Which is why you're the chair.
One of the things I want to touch on before I start, what Sarah said, is the collaboration with Weaver. I mean, they give me one person for the entire year. It's not a different person each time, and they give me a really good person. And that really just helps so much in the way that our audits get done. Daz Thomas, who I have this year, I know she's worked with Shelley and Rachel. They loved her, and she does a great job. And so that's just not having a different person each time to have to kind of reorient them to how CISD works is really helpful. So it's really working great. All right. So activity funds, you can see we have 3 complete. One of the things I want to point out is the lady that does, Diane Doran, that does our activity fund audits also handles the PTO work that we do. So from August to December, we're kind of she's kind of PTO focused because let's face it, school starts, there's new clubs going on, so she's helping them, and then there's the year-end reporting that we help with. So don't you ever want you to see this, like, oh my God, they're not doing activity fund audits. The second half of the year is then when we focus on the activity fund audits. So it's going to be that way every year. Any questions on that? All right, payroll audit. You see, we did a deep dive into payroll. Since Rachel took over from Becky, we thought it was a great time to go in and do an audit. The overall control environment is very strong. We kind of had a great, if you want to have a finding, I guess that's the best kind of finding. They have the controls in place. They just weren't formalized, which means they were doing the control, but you weren't necessarily documenting the review and keeping the documentation that would help an auditor say, yes, this was actually done. So now we've got those 11 controls formalized, and they know to sign off and date things and all that. So whoever comes in next time, it'll make things a lot easier. Plus now we've got the flow charts that we're doing for all the core functions, and so that will also help with training. And when we, so the next time we do payroll and I've got a new Weaver person, I can give them the flow charts from the last and help them really get up to speed on what they do.
So this was a documentation issue?
Yeah, more than anything, and just
Okay.
making sure that you formalize those controls.
Right.
Sign off, date.
Okay. So I was really good to see, really happy to see this audit performed. I mean, payroll is one of the prime opportunities, right, for issues, and it's important that the controls there are very strong and in place and people know what they're doing. So I'm really comforted by the results here. Thank you.
And the other thing, the 2 observations, it was more payroll kind of playing middleman, and they've got enough on their plate that if they don't need to be doing something, we really should take it off their plate and let them concentrate on that core function. So HR was great about saying, yeah, we'll take it, and so everyone was happy. Any questions on payroll? Accounts payable, again, strong control environment. You can see all the areas that we looked at. I watched them do check runs, and again, we did the flow charts for them and really got deep into what they do, since Shelley's leaving, retiring in February, so the next person that comes in, yeah.
Proud of the work she does.
Yeah. So this will help the new person that comes in, those flow charts, they can, and anyone they bring in any position can look at those and at least kind of familiarize themselves with what the process is. So the one thing that we found was that they had 4 people that could change MCC codes on the travel cards, and they really didn't need to have that. It needs to be Rick, and it needs to be the head of travel, and that's it. So,
What is an MCC code?
so that's, the MCC is like a hotel code, or you can only do restaurants, or this. So the MCC is that retail type. Correct?
Could you give Darren, you want to just give a 2-minute version of the travel card, the history of the travel card, what the travel card is and why?
Yeah,
And
the travel card, and we use it only for use at hotels, so that we're not carrying checks to hotels, so they do have a travel card. And the ability to change that code was with 4 people, and so through the audit, they determined that the only people that can change that code, because you can change that code and open it up to the,
Right.
you know, if they had $1,000 on the card, they could use it at Walmart or something like that. So that code restricts it to the hotels only. So only Rick and Treese, who is the head of the travel department, can use that card, or change those codes.
But just to kind of give a bigger picture, so we've forever not had credit cards here, all right? Because it's obviously fraught with danger. But what we've run into over time is hotels no longer will take checks. And so you'd send a coach with 35 athletes somewhere, and now the coach is sitting there, and we just had to hope that they had enough capacity on their own personal credit card to pay for a room when they got stuck. So we've implemented this travel card system, but they're one-time, they're preloaded, so that we don't end up in the newspaper like other places you see where you've just given people credit cards and they go off and do bad things. Things are preloaded by trip, they're one-time use, they come back. And so, you know, it's each individually done. So we don't have credit cards running out there with limits that people could just go choose to spend on whatever they want. It's based on what travel is approved, number of students, all those things. So.
And that account on those travel cards is reconciled.
Bruce actually reconciles the charges.
That's true.
Capacity of purchase order.
So every transaction.
So that then it has to match up to the purchase order. If there's anything that comes through front on the credit card, let's say they charge parking or something on there and it wasn't approved, and she gets it to the hotel and they work with that with the hotel employee. And then I reconcile the actual charge that comes through the bank monthly to make sure actually what pulls out of our bank account matches the statement. And if there's any differences, any credits that we need to get back, we keep a running total of those. So we continue, Bruce continues to get told at the hotel to get these credits back, so they charge us for tax. And it's not, that's one of the bad things about, or the negative things you can see about it, is you can't prevent them from charging that tax, even though you've got that tax exemption. So you're always kind of fighting to get that back, and Bruce does a really good job at doing it.
So we're watching those charges daily.
Okay. So then the opportunity was, I guess someone in purchasing could theoretically create that purchase order and influence the MCC code, and so it's not a proper segregation, or?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
It was just tightening those.
Yeah.
I was also on the LCC code as a person who changed it.
Yeah.
Originally, the travel process was in accounts payable.
Right.
So I helped assist setting up the travel card program. And so at first, when we were doing it, we were trying to get enough people on there who could start the process. But
Yeah.
after it was rolling and going, there was no need to have an
Yeah.
person on there.
Okay, understood.
Any more questions on that? And then we did the maintenance and custodial follow-up. All the opportunity for improvements have been remediated and are closed, and that's the inventory. So I went out last Wednesday, I think it was, and did an inventory at the new warehouse, and they were 25 for 25. We had 2 observations from the original report, and one was that they were filling out paper accident reports and also doing electronic. I mean, it's a small thing, but why double your work? So they're just doing the electronic now. And then the attic stock is not closed yet, but they're still trying to get, so let me explain attic stock. So when they build a school, there's leftover tiles or paint or a door. And so they take those to the warehouse and they're already paid for. And if they need them, like they need tile repair or something, they've got them in the warehouse. But they were just kind of putting before there were really no good controls on how that was taken out. And so they're doing that now, but they're trying to get it all consolidated into the warehouse. And once it's completed, and they expect that by August, then I'll go back out and make sure that the controls are in place for that. So if you have any questions on attic stock, Marshall's here.
Mark,
We were talking about for consumers as well. We'll pull the little parts off, we want to make that our added stock for the only consumers that we have. So the repair that we mentioned so far.
hey, Marshall, could you mind coming up to the mic? I'd just be curious, yeah, I've had the luxury of seeing it. I don't know that any of our board members have yet, but can you just talk about maybe what's different now that you're in the new facility as far as some of the controls that are built into the new facility to help with inventory, to secure materials, make sure they're not leaving and...
So number one, our square footage is a lot bigger. We went from a warehouse that was probably 40 by 40 to a warehouse that's 70 by 125. So huge difference in the ability. We consolidated. Before we had 3 different warehouses, one for our custodial north, one for our custodial south, and one for our maintenance group. And then we had a subgroup that was down in our maintenance facility in South County. And now that we've pulled everybody in one location, all those secondary warehouses have disappeared and they're all under one roof. One person manages all the inventory. They come through our warehouse counter. They have to sign for it. They issue it to their truck pools, and then the technician issues it to a work order as they use it. And some of the stuff that inside our warehouse is the stuff that's long lead time items. So we keep those items. Our guys come in and pick it up in there. They put it on their truck, and we pay finance back as we use the item versus us buying it up front.
And even structurally too, like the segregation of parking lots and just all the things just to make sure that it's very clear to the world how.
So our front parking lot is our personal vehicles only. We have signs on all of our gates, so any personal truck that comes to our back lot, and that's in our vehicles, our CSD vehicles can't go to our front parking lot. That's in our policy book to make sure that I got a part and I'm going to work on something this week and I'm going to pull up next to my truck and I'm going to unload it and leave. We have measures in place to keep that from happening. Thank you.
So this attic stock, the excess, this is all on the inventory system? So there's a record of it, or
So
just at a zero
instead of
cost?
Like an item, it's like, say for instance, we've got one item number for HVAC parts, and
Yeah.
it's in one bin. So there may be 300 items in that bin that are HVAC parts, and as they pull one out, it reduces that number because they're a no-cost item.
Yeah.
Or even used items. So we may go to, Conroe High School may pull off a panel, electrical panel that we may use or we may not use. But our guys are very cautious about throwing stuff away because they know how hard it is to get right now, especially the older items. So they'll stick that in that electrical stock, and it'll be just an item. No item, one item number for no matter if it's a breaker box, a breaker, that's an electrical item, so that we have a tracking mechanism for it.
But you would know, oh, I should have 10 items in this
Yes,
box.
yes, so they
Yeah,
do their
okay.
inventory twice a year. Our warehouse does account twice a year. And our warehouse manager, and he has 2 guys that are in there. And they're the only ones that can pull it out of the warehouse. We have a accordion door that goes across the roll-up door. So our guys can't just walk into the warehouse. They have to walk into the counter and be let in. And the only people that have access to the warehouse anytime is our coordinators, myself and my 2 assistant directors. So that if we have something on weekends, something breaks down, we need to go up, one of our coordinators can go up and get something out of the warehouse. They sign it out. Cameras everywhere. Nobody can get in or out without being caught on camera.
Okay. Good, thank you. Thank you for that. I think we all know, like, there's going to be a lot of activity around, construction and materials and stuff, so it's really good that we have these thorough controls in place. Thanks.
And it's worth, once we, not now, when it's going to be cold over the next couple of months, once the springtime comes, it'll probably be worth going. We're close,
Yeah.
we're close to that facility. It's
Would love to
it's
check it out.
unbelievable. Especially if you ever visited the old one to know what it was. But, they did a great job in designing and building it, even, and it's not necessarily part of the audit, but can you talk about the lawn crews and like the protecting that equipment and the time saved from this bay and about the bay that was built?
So it's about 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, we had someone who really liked our trucks, our trailers, and our lawnmowers.
Yeah.
They stole 6 trucks with trailers. We got them all back. They stole all of the lawnmowers off of it. We had GPS on our truck, so we were able to track where they went. We went to Osceola City Police Department. We went down to Harris County off of Rankin Road, and we found 9 lawnmowers and stuck in the woods, weed eaters, blowers, everything stuck in the woods. So we recovered everything. But when our guys leave in the morning from our old facility, in the afternoons, they would have to unload all of their lawnmowers after that happened. They would have to unload all of their weed eaters, put them in a Connex container, lock them up, put the trucks out, and then the next morning, every morning, load lawnmowers,
back
load
up.
weed eaters, load all of their tools, wasting about 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon. So when we designed our building, we designed it so that our trucks pull into a metal building, roll up doors, they drive their trucks in, close the metal doors, they're done for the day. They don't
Nice.
have to do no unloading, no reloading the next morning, so the next morning they're ready to go.
Nice.
And it's all behind a closed-in fence with cameras everywhere.
How many trucks is that?
Right now we have 8.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you for approving me another one for your
Maybe we should go check it out next Tuesday, Wednesday. I hear the weather's. Yeah. Have the roll-up doors up.
I'll go next Tuesday.
Any other questions on the maintenance follow-up? All right, coming up, the IT audits. Cybersecurity risk assessment, so Weaver's going to come in and they looked at our plan, just the general plan last year. Now they're coming in and actually boots on the ground and looking at how it's actually done and making sure that what we say we're doing is what we're doing. And kickoff meeting for that is tomorrow. And I think everyone's ready for it. So I'll be curious to see what the results of that.
Definitely me too.
The rest, we've got field trips starting next week, athletic ticketing in Q2, child nutrition follow-up in Q2, band inventory, print shop, and a construction audit.
Quick question on the athletic ticketing. Have we moved away from cash altogether yet? Okay.
On the band inventory, did we do that last year?
Band inventory? No, we did the year before.
So that's an every other year?
Every other year. Right.
Okay.
So after we did it 2 years in a row, just to kind of get it where we thought think it's good.
Mhm.
Then we went to every other year. The off years, the band folks would do it themselves, and then internal audit will come in every other year and do the counts. And that's it. Oh, one thing on
I don't
it.
know
So
if
the
that's-
next audit committee meeting, we will have
I don't
the
know. I'm not sure.
24-25 audit plan to discuss. And so I need y'all, if you want to be thinking about things that you would like to see internal audit look at. The risk assessment will be coming out like April. So that will list all the different departments and areas that we could audit and we kind of give them weights for what we consider how risky they are. But there's also a spot for y'all to say, hey, we'd like you to look at this, or we'd like you to look at that. So be thinking about anything that you personally would like to have internal audit look at in the coming year.
Thank you.
I do have a follow-up.
Go ahead, please.
It's going back to the beginning. Could you explain to me the difference between a PTO versus a PTA and what those requirements, as far as internal auditing requirements, would be for each?
I think PTO and PTA is kind of the same thing,
Same
Dr.
thing.
Hill, tell me if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, well, Dr. Medford might be better than me, but
Yeah.
basically well, actually Teresa's our resident expert, but PTA, you are joining the National PTA Association, which means you're paying a fee associated with using their name and being a part of their group. You can function as a parent-teacher group without joining that association, you would be a PTO. So it's that group's choice as to how they want to
I
function.
ask because last year this came up in our meeting, and you explained something to me. I forget the question specifically, but I asked if we were auditing those accounts.
Yeah, those are not our, and Carrie might be able to help us with the legal side. They're not our accounts. They belong, PTOs function under our umbrella, and they function, I would kind of say, but
They function at our discretion.
Yeah,
I
at
mean,
our-
we-
yeah, thank you.
We
I
can
couldn't
say
find the
you
word
live or
discretion.
die, you know,
Right.
they, only by virtue of us, but their funds are their funds, they're not our funds.
So when we do an internal audit, and you might want to go back to the slide we.
I don't
this
think
at the
they're
beginning.
auditing them,
We're
they're
not
just.
auditing.
You're not
they're-
auditing them?
Okay, so on the PTOs, what we do is help them set up the PTO, the IRS filings, they, get their tax exempt, and they get that under that CISD Educational Support Group umbrella. So they don't have to spend the $600 to go and get their own tax exempt number. They get their own EIN number, because they do have to file with the IRS as an individual group, that for tax exempt purposes, they're under the CISD Educational Support Group umbrella. So we just help them set up, we don't tell them how to spend their money.
we do help train though, correct? We'll help
Yeah,
to train them.
We
Right.
train them on fundraising, kind of what are the rules, and then we have an outside person come in twice a year to help them with that, with filing.
So that's what you were discussing in the beginning of this
Yeah.
presentation?
Yeah,
We don't audit their funds directly.
yeah.
Then we have no oversight of their funds?
We can't tell them who to
But-
be on their board, how to run their business.
But we do have oversight in the sense of they function at our discretion. So it's principals make sure that they're functioning properly. So like a principal will make sure that there
So
are
it is
proper
done at that level.
bylaws, that they're turning in treasurer reports. The principal's looking at all of those things along with the leadership. And Teresa, maybe you want to add, because I know you served, I don't know how many years as president of those.
One thing I will say that we have looked at through our audit reports is when they have an event where maybe they've taken cash and they've stored it in the safe. There's processes that they follow there. From the very beginning of the year, our staff goes through a very, very lengthy financial overview of what each treasurer needs to do and how they need to do it, so that we can stop fraud or just mishandling. I mean, it's very easy to accidentally mishandle something, not that anyone's doing anything nefarious. And then, of course, all of our principals work very closely with our PTOs, specifically their presidents and their treasurers, to make sure that whatever they're stating that they're raising money for is actually going to whatever that is. And so there's quite a few stop places where the organization has to have oversight from the campus. But no, as you state, the PTO is able to raise funds and use them as necessary, but it's always in the benefit of the individual campus, so.
We just try to, say, here are the laws, here's the paperwork you need to file. Quarterly, we send a list of all the groups under the CISD Educational Support Group, just to let them know what changes have been made, and so that way they keep it active.
And PTA, PTO are one component of that. Booster clubs are they under the same umbrella? They're separate
They're
out of there, right?
separate.
Yeah. And booster clubs really, while they're elementaries, some of them raise a lot of money. You get to high school booster clubs, there's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You think about a band with 400 members, millions of dollars can roll through a booster club account for travel and all the pieces that come through that.
So you're saying
annually.
we don't
We
oversee those
don't-
accounts
we-
either?
no, we
We
don't
give them
audit those.
guidance, but
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
Correct.
oversight?
Mhm.
Okay.
They
Thank
have
you.
their own structure of
Anything
organization.
else? Well, thank you all.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
We'll see you in May.
All right. Last items. Item 6. Confirm next scheduled meeting on Wednesday, May 8th, 2024 at 7:30 a.m.
Quick question for that.
Yes.
So, we're going to be issuing quite a few bonds between now and then. Do we have any need to meet prior to that to review any bond issuance or anything like that?
No, anything that goes to the full board.
Right.
So anything to do with the bond sale goes to the full board. So we have a bond sale today, and then once that's wrapped up, you'll get the full board will get the report back from Mr. Roebuck on that, and then we won't have another sale until next year. So we should be, everybody will have all that information.
Okay, thank you.
So think low interest rates. That's your challenge for
Manifesting, yes.
for the next hour and a half. We're thinking
Yes. Visualize.
low,
Yeah.
drop some basis points.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
Motion second, let's do it.
All right. Bye, y'all.